Alright, listen. Consoles. PC. With that being said, when it comes to this day and age, why would I continuously want to buy all of these things here when I basically have this right here? Someone explain that to me here.
So, for a while now, I've been noticing some things. You know that one thing? Video games? Yeah. I love that shit. The other thing is that gaming and its culture have gotten more popular, and the stigma surrounding it has changed so much since the 70s and 80s. Now, as for me, I was an early 2000s kid. I grew up starting with the GameCube, the original Xbox, and the PlayStation 2. And speaking of, I also remember that there is this magic regarding the culture of console releases. For those who don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, it's the hype surrounding the latest announcement for whatever given company explaining what's to come of their next concurrent device, the date it'll launch with affordable prices, and what games will be on it day one. And then the day these consoles were released, you used to have many people come out like during the brink of midnight waiting to get in line to get their hands on them. Currently, we don't even have that anymore, or at least as gaming is like now, that part in the given culture doesn't have much of a presence anymore, like how it used to be. Nowadays, we have a lot of random slop trying to focus on pushing certain narratives instead of being just, you know, a good game. Too many focus on games with live service systems in place with a lot of shady prices to make the big bucks. Too many anticipated releases just not coming out or fulfilling the promises, and even now notable things regarding gaming culture slowly being lost to time. Topics like those are stories for another day, but the point I'm trying to convey is that things, well, I guess you could say were a bit better, or at least it was simpler times back then. Exciting times even, with gaming consoles being at the forefront of everything. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels this way, but doesn't it seem like buying gaming consoles nowadays feels obsolete? Like actual genuine question here. Is there any point to buying consoles nowadays? I mean, yes, but really, no.
This is for the niggas, the niggas.
Okay, now despite that being the title of this video, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be quick to hear this question and immediately going to go, fucking of course you statistics victim. Consoles are still easy to obtain compared to PC gaming. All its settings and software are already ripe and ready to go. Installing games are easy as shit. Consoles are always slowly getting better and better in hardware at a lower cost than a PC, and also the only way to play exclusive games anyway. And to that, I say, alright, fair. Obviously, console gaming isn't dead whatsoever. In fact, it's still going strong. Yes, console gaming in terms of hardware and quality is constantly getting better and better to the point they are on similar levels to PC. Hell, the Xbox Series X isn't trying to hide it with this goofy refrigerator-ass design here. Plus, not everyone is going to be technologically literate to understand PCs, how to install and build one, or have the disposable income to find and get a decent rig to run your favorite games, pre-built or otherwise. However, I argue that even though console gaming is still all well and good, to me, I don't really think that's the case right now. Or at least if we keep going in this direction, I could be proven right. Now look, I'm willing to concede the idea that, hey, you know what? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe when it comes to the gaming market, I'm just being pessimistic. Maybe it's my narcissistic PC pride talking, you know, knowing that I can't convince everyone, including some friends or even my own nephew for that matter and his parents, the joy and fulfillment of building and owning a technological RGB box and all its uses, and that there's more to life than just Fortnite and 2K from a black and green pale imitation of one. But I digress. Do not underestimate the power of laziness. Comfortability and convenience are a strong contender nowadays, especially in this day and age when people are more willing to pay extra money doing Uber Eats and DoorDash instead of knowing how to boil a fucking egg. Aside from that, it all comes down to personal preference, and really, I'm not even blaming the people. No dig to the player base whatsoever. Sure, the consumers can be downright stupid motherfuckers. Hell, I'm one of them. This is through the lens of a recent college graduate who still lives with his parents and doesn't have to pay a lick of bills, and sometimes likes spending my hard-earned cash on fictional women and gacha games, despite them being fictional characters that don't exist nor love me back. Call me a parasocial gooner all you like. I could give less of a shit what you fucking think, because with games like Zenless Zone Zero, like, god damn, why did their woman look like this? Getting back on topic, I understand the reasons for wanting to get a console and also preferring it over a PC. I get it. Doesn't help that the negatives are outweighing the positives in this day and age, and that list keeps piling. Like, remember, there used to be an absolute incentive to get the latest virtual fun box, and we have come a long way since the Atari. Part of that gaming culture also come with company competitiveness. That's when companies like Nintendo and Sega entered the scene and gave birth to the console wars back in the 80s and 90s. Sure, the idea is stupid now, but it was an integral part of the culture, at least at the time and place in history. Part of it being exclusivity, giving the consumers a choice of which console reigns supreme, both in terms of market costs, hardware, and game lineup. First time, revolutionary. As for current times, the only company that kept it pushing were, well, for one, Nintendo's still going strong since the 80s, but really now it was all about Sony and PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox respectively. At some point, Nintendo in a sense stopped being kind of competitive and kept doing their own thing and still gaining success despite it all. But because it's Nintendo, no one really gave a shit. Your goofy ass would get shoved into lockers if you said you prefer Nintendo, because it was really mainly Sony and Microsoft being the main juggernauts in this console market. Now, regardless of whether you owned a PC or not, it was only owning a PlayStation or an Xbox that really mattered in the culture. And I don't know, Nintendo was busy fucking with handhelds for the most part. This was the new console war because it still had the unspoken competitive vying out to see what was a better bang for your buck, all coming down to what has easy accessibility, price point, and more importantly, better games with the most extensive exclusive library. Sony, I will say, even now has been killing it since the PS2, and Xbox kept up the pace as well, even after the new generation of consoles with the Xbox 360 to contend with the PS3. Well, until the reveal of this piece of shit.
We're thrilled to unveil the ultimate all-in-one home entertainment system. The one system for a new generation. Introducing Xbox One.
Yeah, Microsoft absolutely dropped the ball with this one. This conference announcement here from E3 2013 is pretty much the start where parts of gaming, and particularly Microsoft especially, started losing the plot. Like, imagine going and hosting a panel at a gaming expo with you being one of the biggest juggernauts in gaming culture, with one of the biggest set of balls, but then decide to publicly castrate yourself by blowing your balls off with a 12 gauge. Over a decade ago, this shit dropped on us where they basically brought up so many unnecessary things that had nothing to do with gaming for like 25 minutes, aside from talking about
TV experience. TV and movies. TV. Xbox. Watch TV. TV. Watch TV. TV remote. TV experience. TV. Sports TV.
Television, TV, television, TV,
television. I'm thrilled to announce a live-action Halo television series.
Television, TV, sports.
That's not even including the other bullshit, like how the console must always connect to Wi-Fi, there always be online shtick, and mandatory Connect crap, and also that dumb as fuck name. Like, really, fucking Xbox One. Xbox 720 was right fucking there. Look, I know someone's probably going to say this in the comments, but no, I get that the naming scheme was supposed to be an on-brand theme for the console, for being an all-in-one entertainment device, but that is not the focus and purpose of a gaming console. Microsoft, you had time to realize the mistake. Nintendo tried doing something similar with the added functions to the Wii U a year before your console was released, and look what the fuck happened. Yeah, just from this whole conference alone, yeah, it's safe to say Sony basically got a head start and basically was just ahead of this unspoken war. And then the Switch came out, and god damn, yeah, wow, shit, they just straight up just killed Xbox at that point. I feel like this was the mark of the general magic that video games in the console markets just started to shift, with Xbox literally being the main sacrifice that kickstarted it. And that's only because Microsoft decided to change the strategy and make a lot of its games, including its so-called first-party games, accessible to a broader audience, which may seem like a solid strategy, but given how things are turning now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a good long-term plan. Even now, with the release of the PS5 and Series X with the Switch 2 down the line, I'm sorry, but sales don't lie. Don't get me wrong, I'm going to tear Sony PlayStation a new one in a sec, but since they technically still do exclusives and create hardware to help accommodate improvements in quality of their titles, there is more incentive in wanting to get a PlayStation, or fuck, even Nintendo as well nowadays. I really don't understand what Microsoft is trying to do here, but shit isn't going to last if people aren't going to give a lick of a fuck anymore with decisions like this keep happening. Because remember, this is the same company that looked at a game like Hi-Fi Rush, a game that was initially a Microsoft exclusive. Game did so well that it even won awards in 2023 and 2024 for being a pretty intuitive action-adventure hack and slash with a really fun mechanic of rhythm and staying on beat. And what did Microsoft do? Xbox, with a nice gleam in its eye, promptly looked at its developer, Tango Gameworks. It was given some freshly baked chocolate chip cookies and warm milk for its efforts in a highly acclaimed game title, and proceeded to give it a nice smile and a firm pat on the back. Then slowly, it led them to the back of the building and firmly executed them with a 12-gauge shotgun to its chest. At this point, any incentive credibility Xbox has from this point on is already in the fucking gutter for most people, both outsiders and fans alike. Pretty clear that all the things I've said that make the magic of gaming and gaming culture great, they're just fucking giving up at this point. Or at least that's how it feels like to me. And what sucks is that it was innovative back then. It pioneered a lot of what gaming culture is now with how mainstream gaming entertainment is nowadays. Strong gaming communities and competitive esports helped prioritize console culture again with Sony PlayStation and set the general standard of online gaming with Xbox Live when it came out. Like, holy shit, remember that shit? But now, given his new shift in direction, it's gonna slowly backfire. Like, if you really think cloud gaming subscription services mixed with a lack of exclusive competitiveness, both in terms of games and in turn dealing with a current identity crisis for your own property and devices is really gonna future-proof y'all asses, I mean, it's a bold strategy, sure, but your execution would be a lot better if you actually had content to, you know, give a shit. And given that apparently Microsoft is planning on making a new console soon at this point, it was just pretending like none of this shit is like happening whatsoever, I only have to ask, speaking of lack of content, how's your boy Sony doing? Oh, you think I forgot your ass, didn't I? Now, just for a second here, let me just give Sony and PlayStation a bit of props. Compared to Microsoft and Xbox, PlayStation's been doing pretty well. I think it's pretty good, I will say. While Xbox has been shafting its own library and other companies under it, Sony has kept it close and consistent with their particular business strategy. With many games and exclusives getting amazing reviews and praise from the gaming masses, and unlike Xbox, they really put the focus on gaming and actually trying to innovate these games while still taking advantage of each new hardware update through their devices. Oh yeah, and don't even get me started on the hardware innovations, changes, and just all-around improvements. Like even as simple as the new controller for the PS5, like I already like how similar while also different the PS4 controller was compared to the previous editions, especially how it feels, but never did I think they upgrade that to perfection. Like I kid you not, this might be the best looking and best feeling controller so far, and it's a crime how it's not utilized more. So at this point, I'm like, okay, you know what? Let them cook. Let them cook.
A few moments later.
What the fuck happened afterwards with this shit? Like, how? Okay, Sony PlayStation low-key has been pissing me off like the most, and that's besides from the fact that I like PlayStation, and part of it because it was basically at the top of the world right now for what it has going for it. So how exactly did we get here? Like for one, Xbox has been fucking up its notable presence since its weird shift from the release of the Xbox One and what it's even able to bring to the table nowadays. But the only thing it's able to fall back on currently is its Xbox Game Pass shit. You know, despite the fact most of Microsoft's lineups is multi-platform anyways, but regardless, Xbox being retarded was already a given and Nintendo is, well, Nintendo. But for Sony, what the fuck is y'all excuse? Listen, there's a reason why the meme PlayStation has no games. It's even a thing. And yes, I understand, the irony is not lost on me if you look at the general library total and given everything I've said so far, but that's what I feel like what makes it a bit sad and frustrating in my eyes. At least in turn for why should I own a PS5? For one, let's look at the PS5 launch, which if you remember was a bit rocky at best. In regards to game titles aside from the other third-party launches, these were the only exclusives that launched in tandem with the system at the time. The big issue from the lineup was that it was not much to be desired. We got a tech demo, a remake, a remaster with an expansion, and a sequel. Not anything new and substantial, but still I guess sorta solid. But how did people like the games? Well, it's hard to say considering the fact you could even get the damn system. It was launched during that prime time of that Mexican beer name virus from China going on, and the rise of the scalpers took over. Basically scooping up almost every piece of tech equipment and hardware on the market in bulk just to sell that shit on eBay and Craigslist for dummy prices, where the PS5 was being sold from its initial price to literally doubling that around to the thousands of dollars. Technically, it was also affecting the Series X too, but But the amount of scalpers, or what I would call them, scumfuck cunts of such extreme proportions, with in addition to the global semiconductor shortage and a heightened feeling of good old lack of supply and big demand due to the pressure of the COVID-19 pandemic at the time, and then congratulations! For a whole 2.5 years, you couldn't not even fathom the idea of even acquiring this console.
I had to do some crazy shit for this PS5. I had to go to Target.com. That shit's scary.
Bro, I bought that shit with Kohl's cash.
You can almost not find these devices anywhere. No secondhand stores would even have these on deck, and even if major retailers did restock, they sell out in literal fucking minutes. Again, the only way you could even get a PS5 was from the waste of space scalpers for ridiculous prices, and the worst part of it all is that people would still buy them, which in turn the scalpers allegedly made approximately $28 million in profit because of this.
Meanwhile, it's a field day on eBay. They selling these bad boys like hotcakes. Look at this, $4,500. I can't order one. Look, they just scamming. $5,000. I can't order one. New listing too. New listing. Everybody new listing. $4,400. $4,500. Look at it. These scammers, boy. These scalpers. They're banning my existence. I literally woke up at 10 a.m. when they said it was available. Got in line. Waited for an hour. At the checkout. And they won't let me check out. And I gotta refresh the page. And I'm afraid it's a lost cause at this point. Look at it. $4,000. $4,500. $6,000. Field day on eBay. Field day on freaking eBay.
Yeah, people are shitheads. Part of me feels like I should be fucking livid given the circumstances, but I think because of those circumstances, I feel like I really can't. Because even in the end, the PS5 launch was still considered a success anyway, because despite how messy it was with this questionable separation between the regular and digital versions of the console with the slim lineup of launch games, it still was considered a strong set. Demand was still high and the profit and execution was still considered solid regardless of scalper influence, because hey, the scalpers still have to pay to get the systems anyway. I don't know whether through regular means or fucking cryptocurrency, but regardless. And for one, it still was leagues better than the PS3's launch, which was oof. For the most part for this, you could chalk this up to just bad timing and poor circumstances, though I would feel this was only a short-term win for Sony, since again, most average people couldn't even get the damn system until it started to stabilize around early to mid 2023. But I and many others were patient enough to wait. However, since it's stabilized by that point, how many exclusives have been released since then? Not much. Yeah, from the launch of 4 major games, yeah, not that much came later. To put it into perspective, this Reddit post here, yes, I know I'm using Reddit, but just bear with me, okay? This Reddit post was able to list out all the exclusive first-party games that were currently on PS5. Keep in mind, from this post, at this point in time, the list of titles was from, as of that moment, October 2024, where a month later, we were about to get the PS5 Pro soon. And, oh lord, the situation got worse somehow. So we started with only 5 games that came out on launch for the system that were initially exclusives, and we went from 5 games to a grand total of 14. 14 exclusives within 4 years of the console's release. Now this is the part where I ask, how many of those games are now also on PC? Yes. The answer to your fucking question is a resounding sí, señor. All these games, including the ones in between that initially came out as exclusives specifically for the PS5 from that point to even now, are no longer exclusives and are either multi-platform or on the good old PFC, perfectly to grab on Steam, with the only game still available specifically on the PlayStation from the multitude of games in its library is only these 3 games. Not counting Astro Playroom, because that's just a free tech demo, but it would have been 4 because Stellar Blade. But guess what? That game isn't coming to PC soon, boys! Did I forget to mention the console's already entering its latter days? Like, you know it's bad when even the recent Call of Duty of this recent year, Black Ops 6, still gets made for the PS4. Yeah, so there are almost no games for the PS5 to call its own, as it barely beats out the Series X. Aside from games that are already multi-platform, which is already a lot to begin with, we have gone from 4.5 games on release to 14 by 2024, leaving us only 3 games that are strictly exclusive to the console. Remind me again why I should even buy this. I haven't even touched upon the abomination that was the PS5 Pro situation. To put it simply, that shit was just a fucking scam. The original PS5 was around like $500 new at launch, with the Pro at launch and still around $700. Not only that, but the base Pro doesn't even come with the extra necessary accessories like most consoles do, and also doesn't have a fucking optical drive by default. You have to buy that shit separate. Like, what? Why the fuck? Like, how the fuck does a company come out with an upgraded version of their prior console with less things and make a console and justify it to be $200 more than the original? Especially when the only games you like to advertise for all your shit is the fucking Last of Us. Like, I get it. It's your biggest flagship franchise with numerous awards, but last time I checked, you have other games. Well, I mean, you did, but it also doesn't help that y'all tend to prioritize highly processed graphics, thinking it's that important when, spoilers, not really. It's really not. Here's a question for most of you. What would you rather say is more important? High-end, cutting-edge graphics or a game's art style? Answer 2 hours. Now look, the point I'm trying to convey is that even with what Sony and other companies are trying to do, it's really not that compelling or groundbreaking. Like sure, updated graphics are great and all, but most of the average person is not going to be in the position to reap all the benefits of these graphical improvements, or to be fair, couldn't really tell the damn difference, nor cares about the difference. Sure, it's good in a way. Graphics are a tangible way to show next-gen progress. Technological competition is still in a sense a good thing, but when it comes to the average consumer, it needs to make sense for what's included in the justified price, and I don't see how it could be. For one, this weird overcorrection of forcing digital game purchases as opposed to physical, like sure, I personally don't care, digital is just more convenient for me, but there's still a good portion of people who value physical games and the underlying meaning that I'm not going to get into, and having that priceless collection years down the line when it will get harder to obtain these games in the future. So it's weird that companies like Sony are just forced to default to just not providing one of the most important functions of the console.
But what about the people who do care? What about the people who want physical games? Guess what? They're told to suck it up. Ugh, but these companies still want to put out physical products, but these physical products are not physical products. They are so dependent on an internet connection. Many of them don't even have anything on the disc or cartridge. They just call to the server and they just download crap to your system. Case in point.
Listen, it doesn't matter what kind of specs and how many state of play it takes, because in the end, why should any of that matter if I look at what's to come and my first thought is, oh wow, this is cool, yeah. When's it coming to PC? Like look, most PCs nowadays could handle a lot of what the PS5 Pro could handle for less, giving the average consumer more of an agreement that the PC and PC gaming are just better viable alternatives, since Steam already applies 400 plus game library, or better yet, just get the fucking Steam Deck. Fucking Steam Deck, what the fuck did I just say? At this point, Nintendo basically has you all beat, as they have barely changed how they do things and are doing well for essentially doing nothing. Shit, anything they do, I'm pretty sure Nintendo will still be fucking successful no matter what. Okay, maybe not everything. God damn it, Nintendo. Now, thanks to my lazy ass taking a long time making this goddamn script for this goddamn video, I was gonna initially leave anything said about Nintendo out, since it seemed like with the anticipation of the Switch 2 over the horizon, Nintendo was basically winning by doing absolutely nothing, just by continuing to do its own thing, while Xbox and PlayStation struggled to do the very fucking thing that made them great in the first place. Sure, even before what I'm about to get into as far as Nintendo, they just kept it pushing. Ever since they unofficially dropped out of the unspoken competitiveness with Sony and Microsoft, again, they just kept doing them. While those two kept trying to one-up each other, Nintendo seemed like they just wanted to focus on long-standing innovation while being creative and providing fun games. Fucking shocker, am I right? Imagine doing that. Imagine actually just trying to be as creative as possible and just making fun games. My god damn, is it that fucking hard? Everything else came second, and for the most part, it works in the long run. Yes, there are a lot of things to critique Nintendo for, and rightfully so, some of which I'll probably mention, but you cannot deny that Nintendo is one of the most influential companies that have ever existed, and certainly stood the test of time within the gaming sphere. Like, understand, how does a company go from making Hanafuda playing cards being used for gambling in the Yakuza to producing toys and becoming the biggest conglomerate in video game culture, from developing arcade games and now producing consoles with so many games, many of which being the most recognizable franchise and characters in the world, attaining international recognition with many productions in media with several films and a fucking theme park attraction? Sure, Nintendo isn't perfect, but a lot of what this industry is now wouldn't have been the juggernaut it is without Nintendo. And listen, I could for the life of me, for as long as I've been alive and been exposed to Nintendo, playing Nintendo games, purchasing their consoles, and being invested in their huge library of games and stories, could keep singing their praises for what they have done throughout the years in shaping this industry. But the point of this video at the moment mainly revolves around the current gaming culture and its current direction, as well as whether buying a console even makes a lick of a sense. And initially, Nintendo with the upcoming Switch 2 I thought was going to be the gaming's litmus test going forward, for how the other companies are fucking up. How will they respond when Nintendo just does the bare minimum? Or so I thought. Never thought we'd be in this position in the gaming space, but here we are. Nintendo is usually notorious for being a bit backwards in how they do shit sometimes. And I'm not talking about the recent squabble with Power with the primary contention with trying to copyright the act of capturing creatures and storing them in the balls, or their questionable business strategies. Well, I guess it has something to do with that, but I ain't talking about the strictness of the uses of their IPs and the restrictive nature against modding of their products. Like, look, Nintendo, I get you don't want your tech and IPs to be modded. You want to keep your shit pure and delicate like a young virgin in her 20s. But like a 20-year-old virgin, them sugar walls are gonna get broken into sooner or later, if you know what I'm saying. Bringing it back to the former contention is part of the main reason Nintendo gets a section in this. I didn't ask for this, nor did you, but fuck it. We're doing it live. By the time of me finally typing this out, Nintendo recently revealed the Switch 2. Fucking finally. I remember watching the damn overview and I was excited. I was genuinely excited. Literally, a better upgraded Switch, bigger, powerful, and lots of gimmicks as usual. And the price.
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
Fucking Christ almighty. Okay, let's unpack this here. Now, aside from the big jump in price compared to the previous Switch, weirdly enough, most people were willing to swallow that.
Giggity. What? Nothing. It's stupid.
Like, that actually was not the deal breaker. But then they see the prices for everything else, including saying how much the game price is going to be along their added accessories, and people are like,
and like that, you've lost me.
Like this right here, this shit right here. This was so bad, Nintendo had to run it back real quick. But despite all that, whose bright idea was it to not only make games like the new Mario Kart $80, but that was only the digital version? The physical was gonna be $90. I already touched about this during the Sony section, but genuinely, just what the fuck? Even if you take into consideration the context being the whole tariff situation that I'm not even gonna go into because I don't fucking care. In regards to games in general, they should not at all be affected, especially digital games. I remember seeing a post where someone was basically saying like, yeah, the reason like everything else, including like the games and stuff and like the rise in prices, besides like inflation, was because of like the tariffs that were going on at the time. Yeah, I'm sorry. When it comes to the like digital games, yeah, those have nothing to do with the effects of tariffs. So not only does it not make any sense, it is also no excuse for digital games to be that much. The only silver lining is that obviously not all games on the Switch 2, as far as I know, are going to be priced that much. So far, it's mostly been the new Mario Kart at that price, and we still have to consider other games that are not first-party titles going to be on the Switch, and most likely won't be burdened by that. Plus, it seems that it won't affect all first-party titles, like the new Donkey Kong game. Like, obviously, it's still pretty high, but again, silver lining. But back to the whole pricing debacle. Aside from the other shit Nintendo is spiking up the prices of, I remember that they did give a reason for the high price tag for games like Mario Kart and justifying it by saying along the lines of, Mario Kart World is priced at $80 because people will pay $80 for it. You know what? Sure. Fine. If that's what you think, then fair enough, sure. I'll take a look at at the Nintendo Direct for said game and see if the value matches what you said, because if you voted on the value, then I'll vote on it with my fucking wallet then. Despite the fact that that single game is apparently $80 across the board by itself, even though you're already selling it as a bundle for your console, making it $50 extra. So is it really worth $80? Really? You know, the more I look into what's been happening in the gaming space, it's just frustrating to say the least. And in some cases, I really can't even blame Nintendo for that matter. I mean, aside from the $80 launch game plus the tech demo game that's not even fucking free, like fucking why, initially heightening prices of physical to digital games, overpriced accessories, and trying to equate the higher price of products because of the global inflation and because other companies are already planning on doing it and are already doing it now. So you know what, to that I say congrats, Nintendo. Because thanks to you and other companies, y'all have proceeded to switch positions and found a whole new way to fucking silence. I think I'm just so apathetic, knowing that things are going in a weird direction in gaming right now. Like, I miss when the shit people are complaining about right now was a thing of the past. Like, the only thing people cared about was whether or not what games were good. Most of the people's levels of complaining were whether or not you were a Black Ops or Modern Warfare kind of guy, or do you rep green or blue, and when the fuck is Pikmin 4 coming out? And unfortunately nowadays, how shit be like now, including the pricing of our fictional entertainment, it's just taking a beating right now, with companies being the main thing holding that shit by our balls. Now, Nintendo has always been testing the water with pricing. Like there's a reason I still haven't gotten Tears of the Kingdom because of a $70 price point, and the fact that Nintendo Nintendo's adamant refusal to just throw a bone a nigga's way to give a discount, among other publishers doing literally the exact same thing, like 2K and EA already pricing their games at like $70 fucking. PlayStation's lack of initiative in even wanting to purchase their shit because their latest device is out there just collecting dust with their extreme $700 in price.
What?
Also, side note, anyone remember that whatever the fuck that thing was, that little handheld thing that PlayStation had? That thing was basically a fucking failure, because I have no clue like what exactly the point was, and any kind of cool gimmick it has, I found out later on from like some random like YouTube shorts. And the fact that this wasn't the thing that PlayStation like led with when it comes to like trying to advertisement is a fucking crime, because what I just saw there was actually cool and would make sense of getting it. But for some reason, PlayStation just didn't understand their own products. Like, god damn, it's like, what the fuck's happening? And Microsoft just basically just silently is just giving up and still proceeding everything is fine and are just continuing to just sling shit at the wall and hope it'll stick. PlayStation, I don't even know what the pejorative is right now. Like, aside from new releases, that'll just be on Steam anyway. And Nintendo, no, I'm just not even gonna say. Is there even a moral to the story? Fuck if I know. Final thoughts, I guess. Still getting a Switch 2 because I'm basically a shill, I suppose. Fuck Western gaming. I'm just gonna stick with my PC playing gacha and waiting for shit to come out on Steam. Stellar Blade just came out. Gonna be fucking elbow deep in that Android bitch. Yeah, that's what I was fucking talking about. Like and subscribe, I guess. Fuck, I need some bourbon.
Don't